Hey everyone, this is Frank, and I'm going to be answering some of your questions through this video Q&A, which we announced that we are going to do with the individual Beheaded members. So I'm the first one. Let's get to it. First question is from Joshua Worthington, and Joshua asks, what got you to be the vocalist of Beheaded, and why did you choose this band? So first things first, I joined Beheaded around about 2008, 2009. I had known the Beheaded guys for a long time, since the 90s, and before Beheaded I did vocals for a band called Slit, which also included Omar, the guitarist for Beheaded, for some years. And when Omar joined Beheaded back in 2008, he asked me if I wanted to try out. He knew that I could basically deliver, and I was quite interested in doing the slot for Beheaded vocals, and that's basically how it happened. But I've known the guys, and we kind of hung out with a similar group of people. I also played back in the early 2000s, or even the 90s probably, with older Beheaded band members in other bands. So I guess it was a bit of a natural decision. It was meant to happen, I believe. So yeah, that I guess should answer your question. So the second question is from Declan Connolly. Can you tell us about the new album? So, Declan, the new album is currently being written. Myself and Omar are working a lot this time on voice and guitar, and after which the tracks that we basically have will be handled by Davide, who's our new drummer, Davide Biglia. So yeah, we've basically got the skeleton of around 7 songs. I think we need around a couple of more songs to finish off the structure of most of the songs. Some lyrics are written already, some songs are actually completed. We have a tentative album title, but for now we're not going to tell you that. We're just going to keep it a secret. So next question, Andrew Sick. I'm a big fan of all your albums, but I want to know, with all respect, if Beheaded think to bring back the brutality like it was with Recounts. Well, I think it wouldn't really be much of a point to do another Recounts of this Embodiment album. I think that Never to Dawn, with the lineup that wrote the album and the songs, I think Never to Dawn was very... it's reflected very much where Beheaded wants to stand with its music, and in the sphere of death metal with the music Beheaded does and what it stands for. And I think that Recounts had its moments. All albums have their moments and have their identity and their character. And I think what we wanted to do with Never to Dawn is kind of capture the essence of what Beheaded is. And I believe that the new album will keep on evolving after Never to Dawn. I think it's a very, so far it sounds like it's very natural successor. Obviously there are some elements of Recounts, as much as there are elements of Ominous Bloodline and even Perpetual Mockery, even the mini-CD, Resurgence of Oblivion. But I don't believe Beheaded will be doing another album that sounds like Recounts. It will have elements of Recounts, but it will not sound exactly like Recounts, just as much as Beheaded will not do another album that sounds exactly like Ominous Bloodline, or attempts to sound like any other album before. The way is forward, and that's where we try to go. So I hope that answers your question. Next question is from Victor Pinto. What direction will take your next album? I think I believe I've answered that question just now. And when are you coming to France? Well, we just came to France not so long ago, but it's always a pleasure playing in France. I believe we played Paris last year, definitely twice. I also was in, there we go. I also was in France previously with my other band, and yeah, France is great. We'll definitely be back there at some point. We will be on tour in July. It's mostly a number of festivals. It's gonna be called the Horror Over Europe Tour. It's not a very long tour, it's around 8 dates, but it's mostly festivals. We're not coming to France this time, but there might be another tour in 2014, so maybe 2014 we'll be back in France. Justin Deckelman, two-part question. What was the album that changed your musical life? What is your favorite release of 2014 thus far? The album that changed my life, I don't really know, man. I mean, there's many albums which I have listened to and which had an impact on my life. I mean, definitely Iron Maiden was, one of the first bands I ever got into when I was quite young. So it would probably have to be a Maiden album, I guess. Number of the Beast, which was the first Maiden album I heard, and that was one of the first heavy metal albums that I listened to and really got into. So I guess, yeah, that could be considered a turning point. Another album which was quite changing or caused a bit of a stir in my life was the first D-side album, because I remember that it was the first death metal album that I had listened to, the first time I had ever listened to death metal, and I remember putting it on really loud, and it actually was so good that it scared the living shit out of me, and I had to turn it off the first time. Eventually I got back to it, and nowadays obviously D-side is one of my favorite all-time bands, especially the first albums. So yeah, I guess if I had to mention two that changed my musical life, but there's so many albums, man. I mean, this is the kind of question that is very, very difficult to answer. And what's my favorite release of 2014? So far, I haven't heard anything that particularly excited me too much. I think that I haven't heard yet the new Hour of Penance in its entirety, but probably it will be one of my favorite albums. Also, the new Sinister so far sounds very, very promising. And I liked a lot the part 2 of the Down 4 EP. I'm really into stoner and those kind of riff-driven bands. Yeah, so that should be it. I mentioned 3, so that's, I believe, good enough. Simon, I think it's Simon and May. What is the biggest motivation to go on tour and make every gig the best one yet? Right now, it's been a while since I've been on stage with Beheaded, because we had the change of drummer with Davide coming in, so we're rehearsing to go on tour, and logistically now it's a little bit more difficult since Davide is based in Italy and we're based in Malta, so gigging and live shows are a little bit more selective. And after a few weeks or even a few months that I haven't been on stage with Beheaded, actually the last time was December, so it's been almost 5 months, almost 5 months, and the urge I have, the hunger I have to go on stage with Beheaded. I've got other bands which I play in, One of them is It Came From the Desert, which is a stoner kind of heavy rock kind of thing. But you know, it's not an angry band. It's this dark side which looms over me constantly. And you know, I'm 34 years old now, and you know, it's still there. It's like Johnny Cash says, you know, this darkness that you carry on your back. And you know, I just feel this hunger to go on stage, and I just need to. It's like a drug. And obviously the motivation to go on tour, you know, is just the being there and actually playing the show. And you know, when I go on stage with Beheaded, yeah, my mind clicks into this weird mind fuck. You know, I just I'm quite a calm person. I'm quite a reserved person, but on stage it's like everything comes out. You know, everything that's in your stomach just comes out. Like the fire is there, and I guess that's what keeps me on a personal level going. And yeah, every gig, you know, my attempt is to do the best gig ever. Every show you play, that should be, I believe that's a motivation in itself. Igor Plachotnuk. Hello Frank, what was the main inspirational concept for the lyrics in Never to Dawn? I get a Lovecraft feeling from reading it. Is this feeling justified by the actual thought process? To be honest, Igor, I've never really read anything by Lovecraft, but it is possible that there are some similarities in the concepts and the lyrics and the stories. Never to Dawn, the title itself does explain the idea of delusion, and that is really what rotates. It's a loose concept album, and the inspiration that has been put into Never to Dawn comes and is drawn from the living on an island. We live in Malta, which is an island, a very small island. You can drive from top to bottom or bottom to top of the island in 45 minutes, 1 hour, and that's basically it. It's 350,000 people, and that's it. And many times, as much as we have, you know, a number of good things in Malta and a number of nice things, it does feel that many times you're going around in circles. You know, it's like the island boxes you, and it's like a prison in itself. Naturally, of course, you can take a flight or you can swim anywhere, but the idea from it is the idea that is drawn from the fact that, you know, we live in an island and we've been influenced with certain values and certain thoughts and certain ways of life that come from living on a small island which is overpopulated, very densely populated. I believe that creates this idea of going around in circles, you know, this thought that it's never going to dawn, you're never going to see the light, but you're hoping for it. There's this delusion for it. So very vaguely, that is a brief explanation of what Never to Dawn is inspired from, or what the main concept is for it. The way I like writing lyrics is in the same, I compare it to the same way a painter does a painting. When you have a painting, you have a scenery, and when the viewer is looking at the painting, you can use your imagination, you know, and let it run wild. And that's basically it. When I write songs, I like writing them in that way, in that form or structure.